seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit.
Psalms chapter 17, verse 15. As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. Shalom Yasharala, peace Israel. Call Alayimlah, Alahayinawa, Abanawa, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakodash. All praise to our power, our Father, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, in the name of Holy Spirit. Double honor to our elder apostles and elder bishops, great millstone. Peace and blessing to your hopeful elect out there. You brothers teaching his word in truth and in sincerity, okay? Yahweh Shai will make you elect like him. Yahweh Shai will make you hopeful elect out there just like him. He's going to make you just like him, and he's going to give you everything in due season, okay? I'm going to read the scripture again, and then I'll get another. Just going to read two scriptures in the Psalms. Psalms chapter 17 and verse 15 again. As for me, and this is a Psalm of David, and we know King David was an Israelite. Or should I say he is an Israelite, okay? So this verse right here is only for the Israelites, beginning with the elect. Those are part of the house of David. Because King David himself, he wrote this. Psalm 17 and 15. As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness, meaning you will behold this truth, okay? This truth is the Lord's face. His image. You're looking at his face in righteousness by you understanding this truth. Okay? He opened up your mind to receive this word. You understand and believe in the true proper name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. You understand and believe in the true proper name of his beloved son, Yahushai. You know that we're the Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You understand this truth. So you're beholding his face in righteousness, meaning you're understanding these scriptures. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness, meaning when you're changed. When Yahushai returns to this earth, he's gonna quicken you. He's gonna give you life. When you receive that new body, it's like you're waking up for the first time. Totally refreshed, totally renewed, totally rejuvenated. A whole new world, a whole new life. That's how it's going to be when you receive that immortal body. You will be satisfied when you awake with his likeness, meaning you're going to be changed and you're going to be just like him. Because he is the perfect model. He is the archetype. So for you hopeful elect out there, you're being made into different versions of Yahushai. When he returns to this planet Earth, he's going to make you just like him. First, he gave you this truth. You have his truth by way of his death and resurrection, because Yahushai had to die for us to receive this truth, this word. So you're beholding his face by you looking at this word. So you see Yahushai all the time. You see Yahushai by way of this word because he is the word. He comes in a volume of the book. And the more you get into this book, the more you're becoming like his image spiritually. And when he returns to this earth, physically, you're going to be like him. Physically, you're going to be changed. And you're going to receive that new covenant. The law, statutes, and commandments will be in your mind. You're going to be programmed to do righteousness. Okay? You will have the law, statutes, and commandments downloaded within your brain. You're going to be satisfied when you awake with his likeness, meaning when he returns, he's going to beam you up, deliver you, and you're going to be just like him. And he's going to give you everything. He will give you everything, man, because he himself received everything. Now, this is Psalms chapter 16, beginning verse 9. Therefore, my heart is glad. Now, this is Yahweh Shai speaking in the spirit. Now, these are Psalms written by our beloved King David. But like these Psalms, you hear Yahweh Shai in the spirit. Therefore, my heart is glad and my glory rejoiceth. Talking about Yahweh Shai. Because he knew that he was going to be resurrected after his crucifixion. And he knew what glory would follow his crucifixion, you know? He had that tunnel vision. He believed in the reward that he was going to receive. Therefore, my heart is glad and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our stronger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful leg out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful leg, the believers and listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, and what we're gonna get into this morning, this morning news and prophecy, dealing with Russia's involvement in the war. All right, rumors of a ground invasion, which is gonna just escalate this war to another level. It's a lot going on, man, and Abba Rogers, I know if if the Lord allow it, I can come back later on with another, news and prophecy, a little bit later on this afternoon. I gotta look into some more things, man. So I'm gonna touch on, what I've been, combing through, to just update us where we at thus far. All right, and show you how this thing is just constantly escalating. All right, and this has been, a big miscalculation by these devils. Okay, and they trusted in these astrologers, okay, these witches and warlocks, okay, that told them to enter this war, okay, and it's been going downhill since then. And what it's doing is really speeding up this devil, all right, and he's gonna have to really, speed up, all right, his new world order agenda, okay, because later on we're gonna go into some things that I'm, looking at now, like this is, like this is different, man. This is different. We've seen, escalations of war and conflicts and nations exchange, missile fire, but this is different. This has totally different implications. Totally, the stakes are higher than they've ever been. All right, it has a broader effect, okay, on all the nations of the earth like never before, okay, and the Lord's hand is in the mix, okay. The elites and what they want to do is becoming more and more irrelevant, and what the Heavenly Father wants to do, that's all right, becoming the narrative that's dominating what's happening, man. Okay, that's why the only thing that makes sense is prophecy, man. Okay, the only thing that explains what we're seeing in real time is prophecy, man. So let's get some precepts, and then I got a few videos, a few things I want to go into. All right. So let's get this here. Let's go here to the book of I believe in 26, Proverbs 26. Okay, because the devil, he's been scheming, plotting, and he's put a lot into trying to pull off this new world order. Okay, the devil has put a lot into it. Okay, and this devil has been able to lie, prop himself up to be, this great, humanitarian. Okay, as if he's been the one that just fighting terror in the earth. He's the standard of morale in the earth. Okay, when it's been the complete opposite, man. Okay, so for the longest, the devil, he was running towards his new world order. Okay, you know, unrestricted. He didn't have any resistance. Okay, he was just constantly making steps and strides towards his new world order. He wasn't being called out. You know, people didn't understand what the devil was doing. Okay, people looked at this man in a certain way, but now the tide is changing, man. Okay, and he's losing in every way. Politically, he's losing. Okay, morale. Okay, morals. Any way you can look at it, militarily. Okay, spiritually, because via Yahweh Shema Shai and the prophets, man. So this man is losing across the board, and he used to winning across the board, man. Okay, so this is why we see this man in panic mode. You can tell, which I haven't been listening to a lot of Trump because he's a clown. We at war. Only the things that matter now is the generals. You see, the generals, that's what matter now. Because even the bankers, they got certain things. But see, when you in a real war, the bankers, see, that's why them niggas gonna be in the bunker. You see, the generals outside now. Okay, the mighty men outside, the generals outside. Okay, and Trump is a clown. He really ain't even qualified to speak on what's going on. I haven't been listening to nothing that nigga been saying, man. Okay, because he's unqualified to speak on these times. He's a clown. Okay, so you have the generals outside now, man. Okay, and the bankers and these puppet politicians and these pedos. Look, nigga, get your ass in the bunker, man. The generals outside, man. We'll come, you know, we'll double back and get y'all in the war over, man, for slavery, man. Okay, but you clown politicians. Okay, EU, prime ministers and presidents, Emmanuel Macron, and Keith Starmer, whatever that nigga name is in the UK, and them other clowns. See, the general is out now. Okay, so it's a lot of people that ain't even worth listening to, and Trump is one of them. They're dealing with me. I don't listen to nothing that clown got to say because he's not gonna tell you anything. All right, dealing with right now. He's just there for theatrics, man. The theatrics is over with. Okay, so let's go here. This is Proverbs 26 and 22. It says rumors. It says I started 23. It says Proverbs 26 and 23. This is in the NLT. It says smooth words may hide a wicked heart, which is a wicked mind, just as a pretty glaze covers a clay pot, a clay pot. Okay, so it says smooth words may hide a wicked heart, just as a pretty glaze or painting covers a clay pot. All right, because you look at a clay pot, and you can paint a clay pot, and it looks like something, just extraordinary. But if you were just to scratch the surface, you'll see it's just a base, okay, clay pot. And this is what we're seeing with Esau. All right, this man has glazed himself over with all this technology, okay, with all this wealth, okay, the movies and projecting himself, okay. But when you get to scratching the surface of this nigga, man, he's just a base clay pot, man. Ain't nothing special about this nigga, man. Okay, because you can get a clay pot and you can paint it like it's lapis lazuli, okay, or like it's white howlite, or like it's an opal, like it's made of precious stone. You can paint it, and it can pass as something precious, okay. But if you scratch the surface of it, you see, oh, it's just a glaze, okay, it's just a base, clay pot. And this is what we're seeing with Esau. This nigga base as hell. Okay, and you see with that AI not working, okay, like he thought it would in this war. This nigga is base, man. This nigga ain't no warrior, man. Okay, this nigga been propped up this whole time, man. You see? So let's go here. Proverbs 26. And where is this high IQ? Where is this high ass IQ that they've been boasting about? And then they said the small has had the highest IQ in the world. Well, goddamn, where is it at now? This is when you need it. Okay? And it says people may cover their hatred with pleasant words, but they're deceiving you. They pretend to be kind, but don't believe them. Their hearts are full of many evils, man. Okay, and the devil, he's been able to fool the masses with pleasant words. Okay, pleasant gestures, man. All the convenience and the technology that he just has saturated into society, which all of his military technology, all right, and it's part of his digital infrastructure. Okay, but uh the fact that this devil, for the longest has been able, okay, with pleasant words, okay, pleasant gestures, okay, false, humility, okay, he's been able to mask his hatred and his wickedness, man. Okay, because people equate, the convenience of modern society to the so-called white man. Okay, even though we get into things, you go into the inventions. Jake is responsible for most inventions that make life easier, but this devil, he's able to be the logo, okay, of what they call modernization, which technology ain't wicked, but what this devil uses technology and how he implements it in society, it becomes wicked, man. Okay, so this devil, for the longest, he's been able to play, all right, the good guy, the savior, the hero of the movie. Okay, but when you look at what this guy really is about, man, it's complete wickedness, man. I see that's the thing too, man. This man wickedness is being called out. It's a lot of people cheering on Iran. Okay, you go into the comment boards, man. Every comment, man, is cheering on Iran, especially against those small hats, man. Okay, so the hero narrative is played out. He can't play that anymore, man. He's been called out on that. Proverbs 26 and 26 says, while their hatred may be concealed by trickery, their wrongdoing will be exposed in public. Okay, and see, Esau can't get around the scriptures, man. Okay, he couldn't conceal his wickedness forever. He can't conceal his new world order plot forever. All you hear people talking about now, this whole Greater Israel project, man. How long the apostles been saying that? For decades, man. Brothers been saying that, start with our apostles and elders for decades, man, for years. Okay, about this Greater Israel project. See, the world is catching up to prophecy, man. Okay, showing that the Lord set the prophets up, all right, in the ministry and the church up to win. That's why he was putting us on game. That's why he put us in the light. This is new to the world, man. This is old to us. Okay, and that just shows you the favor of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah, man, to allow us to operate in the light, man, to be privy, to his agenda. See, everybody trying to catch up and figure out what the Bible talking about, what's Armageddon, what's this, what's that, what that mean, who is this? You see? But this is what we've been doing through spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. Now, this the point. It says if you set a trap for others, you will get caught in it yourself. If you roll a boulder down on others, it will crush you instead. Okay, it will crush you instead. All right, and we seen the devil he's beginning to be crushed, okay, and trapped by all this wickedness that he's done towards others, man. Okay, now things are working against him because he's gonna roll. The Lord has allowed this man to roll this boulder to the top of the hill. And when Esau thought he was going to push this boulder downhill on everybody else, well, the Lord now has that boulder rolling back on this nigga, man. He's out of there, man. Okay, Esau is being dismantled. The Lord is dismantling this nigga, man. Like I say, he got one more rabbit to pull out the hat, man. The MOTB, which is linked to civil unrest, Jacob's trouble, the famines, because that's when he's going to implement it. Okay, in the midst of chaos, that's going to be his order out of chaos, man. So this man got one more rabbit to pull out the hat, and he's out of there, man. Okay, he got one bullet left in the chamber, man. Okay, and that's to make that MOTB mandatory, man. Okay, and that's it. So, let's go from there. All right, 'cause I want to go into Russia's involvement in the war. Okay, and then let's go here. I want to go into something else, but let's go here real quick. Because now, cause see, there we go here. Yeah, so what's happening? Which when you go into it, man, this is a very strategic move by Iran. Remember, Russia's in the background, okay, heavily with Iran. Russia and Iran, they'll click tight, okay, putting pressure on the West because the West attempted to put pressure on Russia through Ukraine, okay, but all America did was exhaust itself, okay, and it emboldened, all right, it boosts Putin's popularity like never before, okay, and is giving is making that bear war hard, man. Okay, Russia's military has doubled since the Ukrainian war. Okay, so this thing, everything that things have been backfiring against this devil. Now it's just spiraling out of control for this nigga, man. Okay, but you have Russia's military has doubled, uh, you know, favor for Putin. You know, Putin's popular than ever in Russia. Okay, Russia have invaded and conquered eastern Ukraine, which the eastern part of Ukraine, that's where most of the grain supply for Europe, okay, is in eastern Ukraine, which that's the territory that Russia is occupying now. Okay, so the Lord has everything working for the kings of the east. Okay, because the Lord has, all right, a agenda, man. Okay, and right now Babylon the play, America is the play. Okay, to take America completely off the board, and we always say how shall come to take everybody off the board. Okay, you're just in a phase now where Babylon is getting ready to get took off the board overseas because Iran is taking Babylon off the board in the Middle East. Okay, and eventually when this war goes nuclear, it's gonna take Salaki, the land of America off the board. Okay, literally, man. Okay, maps in the kingdom won't include America, man. All right, a desert memorial. The desert might be named "Don't Do It." Okay, in the Hebrew. Okay, La'ah. Desert La'ah in the Hebrew. In the kingdom, man, on the maps. Okay, but so Iran and Russia are working click tight. So what you have, Russia, which is going to go into it. But Russia is in the position now because the thing is, and this could be a possibility, me just speculate, because the thing now is America has awakened this wild boar. All right. That whole region, like, man, how can we get them to chill? Because usually that's what the role America usually comes in and play. That's what Trump was trying to do by going around and brokering all these peace deals, and because that's the role that America usually plays. But he's a clown, man. He's an actor. Okay, it's all fluff. You see, he really ain't got no pull like that, especially since his military card done been pulled. Okay, he definitely ain't got no sway. Trump is a complete clown, man. He don't tell him what he might do or say because he know it's over. Because his whole boast was his military might, man. Okay, and now the world see that ain't that. Okay, he ain't got nothing to go on. Okay, but the thing is right now, Iran, okay, is going ape shit over there. So the whole region, even Europe, they like, look, what can we do to get these guys to chill? Because they can't do nothing militarily. If Europe could do something militarily against Iran, they would have did it. They can't. Okay, and then they know Putin in the back watching everything. All right, Russia, chief prince. So they got to factor that in. Okay. So Putin can come in and be a hero if he could get Iran to, fall back. Okay. And what that's going to do, that's going to sway Europe over to Russia. That's going to sway these Gulf Arab states over to Russia, because they're like, well, look, this who got all the pull in the world. Okay. This who got the pull. It don't make no sense of having American military bases when we thought they was for protection, when they become a liability. And we see America is not rising up. Okay. They're not rising up, okay, to the occasion. They're not rising to the occasion, and they're not able to defend these Gulf Arab states. All this high-tech weaponry, it was just good on paper, okay? It was good for show, okay? It looked good, for Qatar to be able to, okay, see those big radars and, see American military presence, and to see, these THAAD system, missile systems, these Patriot systems, okay? And these Gulf Arab states, these GCC nations, was able just to enjoy. They became tourists, okay, attractions of the world. The oil money was flowing, okay? So it was like, see, we got a good thing going, but Iran disrupted it in a few days, okay? And we could see, Russia pull at the collar of Iran, and tell them to ease up, or at least stop attacking the Gulf Arab states and open up the Strait, okay, and give a little relief to Europe, give a little relief, okay, to these other Asian nations, man, Pakistan, Japan, India, okay, and that's just gonna solidify, all right, Russia being their chief prince. Okay, it's a possibility, like I said, it can go so many ways, but just politically looking at it, Russia will be the only nation that can get Iran to chill, if the Lord allowed it, if that's within the will of the Lord. Okay, but let's listen to this real quick.
The Gulf countries for letting the United States set up their military bases. The attack linked to the ongoing war in Iran. Medvedev, who is currently the deputy chair of Russia's Security Council, took to social platform X and said the Gulf Arab countries let American bases onto their territory. Naively, they expected protection from them. Like hell, the US just uses them while protecting only one country. Think long and hard about whether you really need US bases. They're not protection, they're a threat. Tehran and its allies hit back against Israel, US military assets in Gulf states, and targets critical to the world's energy production. Earlier, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that all those suffering from what he called US and Israeli aggression were Moscow's strategic partners.
All those who are suffering from the aggression of the United States and Israel are our strategic partners. We maintain a dialogue with them, and we will do everything possible to ensure that, together with other peace-loving members of the global community, including within the UN Security Council and the General Assembly, we foster an atmosphere that will be conducive to making this operation completely impossible. I don't know how much such moral and political means will be able to help, but we must do everything to ensure that this voice, the voice of the overwhelming majority of the global community, is heard.
And Russia's being a guard. Listen to what he says real quick. Let's play it again. Okay, he's pretty much telling all these nations, shit, come to death row. Come to death row, man. You tired of your president being all in your videos? Come to death row, man. You see? Let's play this, man.
Called US and Israeli aggression were Moscow's strategic partners.
All those who are suffering from the aggression of the United States and Israel are our strategic partners. We maintain a dialogue with them, and we will do everything possible to ensure that together.
He said everybody that's being, all right, oppressed by the United States and Israel. Russia calling out Israel, man. This is Ezekiel 38. Russia is openly, this is, all right, a Secretary of State, all right, the foreign minister of Russia, and he's openly saying, look, if you got a problem with Israel and Russia, come to us. He's openly saying that, man. If you got a problem with America and Israel, come to us, man. We got you. You know, we're going to make sure y'all voice heard. You see, this is Russia being a guard. It's Ezekiel 38 magnified, man. It's amplified, man. You know?
With other peace-loving members of the global community, including within the UN Security Council and the General Assembly, we foster an atmosphere that will be conducive to making this operation completely impossible. I don't know how much such moral and political means will be able to help, but we must do everything to ensure that this voice, the voice of the overwhelming majority of the global community, is heard.
According to a Washington Post, Russia is secretly providing Iran with intelligence on the locations of American warships and aircraft in the Middle East.
Humanity is on the ground. Gaza, Yemen, Pakistan, Africa, and more, delivering hot,
Russia is providing Iran with intelligence on the locations of American warships and aircraft in the Middle East, according to a report by the Washington Post. US officials say the information is helping Tehran target American military assets in the region. The Washington Post reported that the intelligence sharing marks the first indication that another major US adversary may be indirectly involved in the expanding conflict. 3 officials familiar with the intelligence said Moscow has passed targeting data to Iran since the war began. According to the Washington Post, the information reportedly includes positions of US warships, military aircraft, and radar systems across the Middle East. Officials say such intelligence could help Iran plan attacks against American forces and installations. The report says Russia has been sharing the information since the conflict escalated on Saturday. While Moscow has not commented publicly, officials say the assistance signals a deeper geopolitical dimension to the ongoing war. The Washington Post also reported that the conflict has already turned deadly for American troops. 6 US service members were killed and several others injured in an Iranian drone strike on a military site in Kuwait on Sunday.
So, and I was playing that to show you how Russia is being the eyes, all right, for Iran. You know, because Iran has the precision, okay, and the arsenal to hit, but now they have the intelligence to go with it, all right, which amplifies, okay, Iran's capability, man. You know, so this you know, this Russia Iran, okay, duo. This is the ancient Medio-Persia alliance. Okay, all right, back at it, man. All right, which, you know, the Persians are the original Persians. You know, the Persians of the Medio-Persian Empire. Well, that's Iran today. All right, those are the Persians. So back then, it's Iran. Now the Medes were originally Japhetic people, but in prophecy, right now there's Russia who inhabit, you know, that land of the Medes. Okay, in this time. All right. So the Lord has created another Medo-Persian, okay, alliance to take down Babylon, man. Okay, if a brother want to post that, let's post that in uh, what's that? Isaiah 21:2. If a brother can post that in the NLT, Isaiah 21:2. Now this is another thing, all right, as well. Okay, people are looking for Benjamin Netanyahu, man. Okay, that nigga can't be found. All right, he hasn't made no public appearances. Okay, they're looking for this guy, man. So let's let me find this video. Okay, here you go. Look at these two precepts as well, brother, put up here. So this is the brother Yaqua, hopeful elect. All right, hopeful elect 3. Okay, this is Ezekiel 38:3. It says, "And say, thus said the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach, and Tubal, the chief prince." Okay, and when you go into, all right, the chief prince, well, the chief prince is an overlord to other princes, to other governments. Okay, that's why he's the chief prince. Okay, because other governments have to answer to him. Okay, so we see Russia playing that role of a chief prince. All right, well, all these nations, okay, are operating under the banner or the agenda, okay, of Magog. Okay, verse 8, and it says, and I will turn thee back. Okay, and then even going back to Meshach and Tubal, which is going into Turkey. Okay, also known as Gomer and Togomar. Okay, because just to mention, they just mentioned the Kurds, they just mentioned the CIA, all right, and America using the Kurds for a ground invasion. Just a mention of that, okay, has awakened Turkey, all right, has activated Turkey to start helping Iran, with intelligence in their region, all right, dealing with the Kurds. Okay, one thing about it, when the Lord has it set for a particular nation, a particular person to fulfill prophecy, man, the Lord makes sure they're equipped with everything they need to fulfill prophecy, man, fulfill their role in prophecy, man. Okay, and I'm saying Iran is just the beginning. This is just the opening phase of this war that's going to go global. Okay, Ezekiel 38:4 says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, all right, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords." Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, okay, with them all with shield and helmet. So this is a great military alliance. Russia and Iran is a mighty, especially in that region. Okay, in this region, this is a mighty military alliance, man, that have to deal with in this region, man, with the capabilities that they have, man. And Babylon can't stand a chance. Okay. Okay. Then you throw Turkey in the mix. All right, verse 6, Gomar and all of his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Okay, Ezekiel 38:7, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Okay, and be thou a guard unto them. And this is what we're seeing. Okay, Russia is playing their role as a guard. All right, and they call it for every nation that feels oppressed by America and the small hats. Look, come to us, man. We'll make sure your voice heard, man, and it's gonna be heard through what? Through war. All right, we'll give you something to fight with. We'll arm you. Okay. So let's Let's go here. There's another from the brother. All right, the hopeful elect 3, brother Yaquab. And it says, Isaiah 21:2 in the NLT, it says, I see a terrifying vision. And what is this terrifying vision, man? This mighty military alliance, man. It's going to be terrifying to the West. Okay? You small hats and you Americans, because, you know, these EU nations, they one day they saying, okay, we're going to send some carriers. The next day they like, nah, we're going to wait. You know, they real hesitant, man, because they got something planned against, all right, Babylon, man. Okay, it says, I see a terrifying vision. I see the betrayer betraying, the destroyer destroying. Go ahead, all right, you Elamites and Medes, okay, and attack and lay siege, okay, attack and lay siege. So this is what we're seeing. O Elam, which is Persia, Iran, and Medes, which is Russia, attack and lay siege. So there's a siege being laid, okay, in that region for Babylon, man. Okay, America is surrounded in that region, man. All right, between the proxies, you know, Iran and their proxies, and then you got Russia with its surveillance and intelligence, plus with China in the background with their intelligence and technology, okay, and weaponry. Okay, so this place is being sieged. Okay, what's in America? All right, Babylon be sieged. Oh, you saying it's blocking it? Yeah, they do this sometime. I seen brothers trying to post it. It's just a little bit more I want to get, and then we'll play this. But I'll just read it from here. It says, go ahead, you Elamites and Medes, attack and lay siege. I will make an end to all the groaning Babylon has caused, man. And Babylon has caused a lot of groaning in the earth, man. Okay, but the Lord has raised up this superpower alliance, this superpower military alliance to take down the whore. Okay, to take the whore down, man. All this groaning that Babylon has caused in the earth, well, the Most High got their card pulled, man. Okay, the Most High got their card pulled, man. All right, and now we're seeing the dismantling of the empire of Babylon. Okay, it's over. Okay, and we're going to see desperation from here on out. Okay, desperation and gimmicks. Okay, so let's play this real quick, dealing with where the hell is Benjamin Netanyahu in the mix of all this, man? A coward, man. You Western leaders are cowards, man. The leaders of the West are pure cowards. They're self-preservationists. Okay, they have a mind of self-preservative, man. They don't give a damn about the people, all right, that they're leading. Okay, they don't care. They don't care about the people that they're ruling over, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Of this video. This is Edna Halbani, a former Israeli government official. She wrote, and I quote, "Let the Prime Minister please come to the public and update us on the situation. What are the goals of the war? What have we achieved so far? And what are the plans for the future? After 8 days of war and missiles falling on the country, the destruction of homes, the dead, and the anxiety victims."
And these are Israelis calling for Benjamin Netanyahu, like, where you at? Address us, what's going on? Because it's a media blackout. Now, they try to say, oh, Iran shut down the internet because they don't want to see, you know, the government slaughter the people. Okay, well, you know, all that was, okay, heavily fabricated. But now you have a media blackout. You don't know what's really going on unless you get, you know, leaked footage, okay, from certain civilians, okay, but there's a major media blackout, okay, in the state of Israel amongst the small hats, man. Okay, so now they're calling for where Benny at, man? Where the hell is BB? Okay, who started the war? This the nigga that did it, because it was the strikes from, all right, the IDF. They killed the Ayatollah. They assassinated the Ayatollah. Okay, they really set the tone. They really pushed this conflict to the point of no return. Okay, so where is he? This is what the Israeli people are saying. Where is this nigga, man? Okay,
We deserve to know. The uncertainty arouses great astonishment and helplessness. We are still a democratic country despite everything. So we deserve an update, a real update, not lies and falsehoods as they misled us in the last war against Iran. We don't want to hear the commentators sitting on the channels and talking themselves hoarse. After all, they don't know a thing either, causing confusion and even contempt among citizens. Another important thing, tell us where you, your wife, and your children are during the missile attacks. Do you run to the shelter or to the parking lot or to the protected room like the rest of Israeli citizens? Or are you in some underground facility or bunker that protects you from the missiles and also from the wrath of the citizens? Try to do this not during the alarms. End quote. Israeli journalist Niv Lillen wrote, and I quote, just 8 months ago, the dictator, he is talking about Netanyahu, stood and claimed that we had severely damaged Iran's ballistic capabilities. How does he explain 3 to 4 launches in a single night? The man is a liar, a crook, evil, and he initiated a war on his own initiatives to thwart the continuation of investigative moves against him. I don't trust Netanyahu. He needs to be removed. End quote.
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and
This Israeli wrote, and I quote, enough with this war, enough with the blind march of the politicians from the opposition after Netanyahu and his extremists, enough with believing him that he cares about the Iranian people or even about the people living here in Israel. We are collapsing, dream of better lives or even just more possible ones, and our government doesn't care. So why should Iran care about them? Enough. End quote. This public outcry confirms 2 things. First, Netanyahu is on the run to save his own life, as I had mentioned in one of my earlier videos. And second, Iranian strikes have caused hundreds of deaths and widespread destruction across the settler colony. This explains why the rogue regime of the settler colony has imposed a brutal crackdown on anyone sharing the videos of the damage caused by the Iranians on social media. Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi has sent a chilling warning to the Americans and Israelis. This was after the US flaunted the bombing of Iranian oil refineries and a water desalination plant. Araghchi said that this effectively meant that the oil refineries and water desalination plants were now legitimate targets even for the Iranians. This has heightened the fear of similar strikes by Iran on such facilities in the settler colony and across the Arab world because the US allegedly used the Bahraini soil to destroy an Iranian water desalination plant. This is where these American and Israeli lunatics have pushed the war into. I will leave you with this video of a member of Trump's rogue regime. He has now said the quiet part out loud. The illegal invasion of sovereign Iran was never about the country's nuclear program or even democracy. It was always about stealing the country's vast natural resources, particularly oil. Have a listen to this individual.
This is a long-term gain because what we want to do is get such massive oil reserves in Iran out of the hands of terrorists. And so what we're going to experience here in the short term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefit, because ultimately we're not going to have to worry about these issues in the Strait of Hormuz because we're going to get all of the oil out of the hands of terrorists.
That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform. And
so, there's been no public, announcements from Netanyahu. He hasn't, let the people know what the strategy is, what's going on, what's next. And Tel Aviv is getting pummeled. All right. Tehran is getting pummeled, but Tel Aviv is getting pummeled too. Okay. And the state of Israel doesn't have the capacity to take damage like Iran can. Iran is almost 20 times big as the state of Israel, man. Okay, it doesn't have the capacity to keep taking it day for day damage. Okay, this nigga crying, whining. You know, the nigga said that that ballistic missile, all right, with that cluster warhead was a war crime. Yeah, you know, but it show you, man, these Edomites, they push themselves as heroes for the longest. This nigga been James Bond, Superman, Rambo, nigga. What all these Edomites at, man? They saved the day in all these movies, man. Where are these Edomites at? Okay, what are the Top Gun fighters? I mean, you know, these fighter jet pilots, man. These Air Force pilots. Okay, what are these special forces that do all this heroic shit in the movies, man? You need them niggas today, now, nigga. Right now, they need to be on the way. Okay, it was all hype, man. You know, it was way more hype than bite. Okay, we're gonna get into that as well. But let's go here. I want to go to this next video here. Okay. I think the brother has some pulled. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, where is Iron Man? And Tony Stark. Y'all need them niggas, man. Okay. Let's go. Yeah. So let's go here. I want to go to this because we're in the Third World War. Okay. Now it's just all about escalation, man. Okay. And even like I say, I can see Russia, you know, becoming a hero and swinging all that demonization of Russia and, you know, the boast of American military dominance and political dominance, and man, all they can swift to Russia quick if he apply any type of relief, you know, for these nations, man. Okay, which is gonna be a no-brainer for these nations to side with Russia, man. Okay, but let's play this. But this is the WW3, man.
Hi, everybody. Today is Saturday, March 7th, 2026, and our new friend, Professor Jung, is here with us. Welcome, Professor.
Hi, Hanima.
And it's the first time you are in this podcast. I know that many of our audience know you from your videos on YouTube, on these lectures, amazing lectures that I got familiar recently with those lectures. I was amazed with the information, with the wisdom in those videos, and how you connect the historical facts to what is going on right now and what would happen in the future, considering all this history. And Jung, what is happening right now in the aftermath of that devastating war in Ukraine, which literally destroyed Ukraine? And right now we have a new war in the Middle East. This is not a war between, the United States and Iraq or Afghanistan. They didn't have that much of power to fight back. This is Iran. It's somehow different in terms of the size of the country, size of the population. Their military power is different. What is your understanding of what's going on in the Middle East?
Right. So we are in World War III right now. It's only been a week, but this war between the United States and Iran can only escalate over time. So today, there are rumors circulating online that the 82nd Airborne Division of the United States Army has been given deployment orders. They've stopped training exercises, and it is possible they will be deployed to the Middle East very soon.
So I just did a quick cross-reference on Google, okay, talking about the 82nd deployment. So let's get into that real quick. What is that? And I heard another source also say that as well. So this is, one of a few sources that's saying that the 82nd Division, all right, which is known for rapid deployment, okay, is being geared up, all right, to go to the Middle East, man. Okay, then they not coming back. Okay, that's gonna if you're deployed over there to that region, that's your farewell tour. Okay, you might well kiss everybody on the forehead. That's the farewell tour. All right, if you get sent over there. All right, now you go into it real quick. So just a quick, I asked about the deployment of the 82nd Airborne Division. It said the 82nd Airborne Division, based at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, North Carolina, is the U.S. Army premier rapid deployment force. Okay, the U.S. Army's premier rapid deployment force, capable of deploying a brigade combat team within 18 hours for joint forcible entry operations. Okay, so in their mind, they finna force their entry into Iran. Okay, I can't wait to see this shit. I'm waiting to see goddamn Trump break this blockade. Okay, over there in the Strait of Hormuz, and I'm waiting on this ground invasion. I'm waiting on this. I want to see this. Okay, nigga Michael Jackson bad. I want to see this. So it says recent reports indicate heightened readiness for potential Middle East deployment and rising tensions, man. So this is coming from multiple, sources that this is happening. Okay. It says Middle East 2026 said following the cancellation of major training exercise in Louisiana. So they had training, but it's been canceled. Like, nah, nigga, now it's time to put this training to work. Okay. Now it's time to put this training to work. You see, it said the 82nd Airborne's command element is prepared for rapid deployment to the Middle East due to widening conflict with Iran, though formal orders are pending. Okay, so this is on the table. All right, so we can see ground troops soon being deployed their way, and this is gonna be interesting, man. This is gonna be very interesting, man. See how that play out. Okay. So let's go here. Let's go back, play this a little more.
Even though America and Israel are suffering casualties, it isn't that many casualties. They're trying to avoid as many casualties as possible. And so they can theoretically retreat from this war. But the moment that ground troops go into Iran, then it is impossible to retreat. And this war can only escalate. So a massive turning point in this conflict will be the use of ground troops. If ground troops are used, then we are in World War III, and this will mark the end of the world as we know it. A ground war would also most likely
the end of this age, because that's a term that's thrown around. It's the end of this age. If a brother can post that 2nd Ezra 6 and 9 in the GMT, Baba Shah, it's going to be the end of this age. Okay, and brother can post that in Revelation. I think a brother had already posted it. All right. I think a brother posted Revelation 11 and 14. But yeah, once we see boots, okay, deployed. All right, once we see boots on the ground and troops deployed to their region, all right, in the Middle East, because they're going to have to stage in Saudi Arabia. We went over that, okay, according to the prophecy in Joel. They're going to have to stage in Saudi Arabia, okay? So once we start see those troops getting deployed to Saudi Arabia, being staged, for a ground invasion, okay, it's only going to escalate more. And then that's the point of no return. Okay, because even now, you can get, some type of ceasefire, you know, but once you put troops on the ground, then ceasefire becomes damn near impossible because them niggas over there now. Okay, once you deploy troops, then you just can't, because right now you can call ceasefire. Look, I do my last strike, you do your last strike, and we fall back. See you next round. Okay, but once you put boots on the ground, now that complicates things on a whole nother level. So we're going to see. Okay, it says Revelation 11:14 said the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe come quickly. This from the brother warriors of Yahushua 144. Okay, so the second world war is past. Now we in the third world war, and it's escalating quickly, man. All right, it became regional instantly, and then it became global in just a few days. Okay, so it's coming quickly. All right, and everybody throwing this term around the end of the world. It's the end of an age. It's the end of the world of the heathen. You see, it's the end of y'all world. Okay, our world is just beginning. Second Ezra 6:9. It's the brother the hopeful leg 3. Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of the following. Okay, so Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning, all right, of the following, man. Okay, so let's go play this. Let's go. Said this second Esdras, okay, 6 and 9 in the GNT. It says Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of a new age, man. Okay, so we're seeing the ending of an age. Okay, and this is what our forefathers always inquiring about, man. This is the end of the age of the heathen, all right, being in authority, man. And Esau is the last heathen to rule. So Esau, his rulership will represent the end of heathen rulership forever, man. Okay, in the beginning of an everlasting age of Israel. Okay, the brother want to post it, Isaiah 45 verses 17 and 18. It link up with this, man. So we have an everlasting age that's being ushered in. Okay, so the Lord threw this nigga into this war, man. Okay, if you want to illustrate the small hats, the Lord put the spirit on the small hats to grab America by the back of their neck and throw them niggas. You know how to do in school, man, when Jacob be squaring off with each other, but you can tell neither one of them want to do nothing. Okay, and somebody behind them will push them into each other. Okay, then go ahead and get this thing started. Okay, it's what the Lord did, man. Use these small hats to grab, okay, America by the back of their neck and throw their ass out there, man. Okay, to bring an end to Esau's age. Okay, because the Lord has an eternal righteous kingdom that He's getting ready to set up, man. Wickedness has ran its course. Okay, the elect get it now. You see. So let's get this real quick. This is a brother Yahweh, the hopeful leg 3. It says Isaiah 45 and 17, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. See, we're going to be delivered from all this destruction that's getting ready to come. There's a hopeful elect that's going to be delivered from this. They're going to be saved out of this. See, this is the time of salvation. Okay, a Christian will say, "Oh, I was saved in '89." May 2nd. I can remember it was, nigga go into detail like nigga. But nah, man, this is the real salvation, because this is what we need. We need to be saved from all this destruction that's coming. Okay, these nations are going into a nuclear war. This is what we need to be saved out of. And Yahushua is coming with the chariots. Okay, so this is what we're getting ready to be saved out of, man. This is when salvation is needed. Okay, from the wrath of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. It said, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. You shall not be ashamed nor confound in world or age, okay, without end. Okay, so the Lord's getting ready to bring in this age of Israel because we're being delivered. So the Lord's going to establish a righteous age in the earth with his people. Okay, Lord, we're delivered, man. We're going to be part of a righteous ruling dynasty, man. The house of David represents a righteous ruling dynasty in the earth, man. Okay, in this war, because this is the divide and the asunder of times. This is going to divide the ages of Esau. Okay, and Jacob is this war. Okay, Isaiah 45:18. For thus said the Lord that created the heavens, the Most High Himself, that formed the earth and made it. He have established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else. Okay, so the planet Earth was formed, all right, created to be enjoyed. Okay, and under the rulership of Esau, this man has drained the earth from enjoyment, man. You know, this man has completely drained the earth from enjoyment, man, to where our joy is seeing this place destroyed. Esau has drained the earth out from enjoyment to the point where the only enjoyment is to see this place be destroyed, man. Okay, so let's go here. Play a little more.
Draw in other actors as well. It may draw in the GCC. It may draw in the Europeans. It will definitely draw in Russia. It may even draw in China. And it may also draw in South Korea and Japan as well. Because remember, the Strait of Hormuz supplies most of the oil to the Asian economies of Pakistan, India, Japan, South Korea, and China. In fact, the Strait of Hormuz provides about 75% of all of Japan's oil needs. And the Japanese Prime Minister, Takahashi, has said that if this war continues, the Strait of Hormuz continues to be closed, then Japan will run out of oil in about 8 months' time. So we can imagine that there is panic within the Japanese cabinet, and they are actually preparing to intervene somehow in this conflict, whether it's diplomatically, whether it's economically, or even militarily. South Korea may also need to come in as well. So the Strait of Hormuz.
So the Strait of Hormuz, all right, because it's one thing. Cause see, if it was just, if it was just missiles exchange between, America and Iran and the small hats, all right, well, that wouldn't have a major effect on the economy. Okay. It will have an effect, but not a major effect immediately. The Strait of Hormuz is an immediate major effect if it stays down. Okay, because that's what, see, Iran involved the region with missiles. Okay, Iran involved the region in this war with missiles and drones. Okay, but it involved the world when they closed the Strait of Hormuz. The world got involved. Okay. All right, and the bankers, they got they play because it's an MOTB plot to somewhere in the game. But we know one thing, the Lord working his play, which is going to stomp out whatever the agenda of the elites is, man. Okay, so let's let me jump ahead on this one. It's about 30. And this is what we've been saying for a long time. All right, this is what we've been saying. In the last few months, the Spirit has been having me say, America ain't been tested, man. Like the way people will just tremble at America, but then it's like, because the Lord just had us looking into these things. Okay, and you look at the pattern, it's like, man, America really ain't fought no goddamn body, man. Okay. Like, it's a lot of hype for somebody who really ain't never just fought nobody like that. Which we know the scriptures say this man will be the hammer of the earth. And this man, he is, all right, he has become, all right, a powerful military. Okay. But one thing about it, we never seen this powerful military really fight nobody that was capable of fighting back. Okay. So he kind of projected himself to be bigger than what he is. America is a mighty military. Okay. But the way it was projected, like no one stood a chance. Like it's impossible to beat these niggas. But then now we seeing these niggas being tested. Okay. And they're like, wait, it was a lot of hype to this, man. These niggas are powerful, they are mighty, but it was a lot of hype added to that as well, man. Okay, so let's play this.
No, the line, which is like literally the straight line that went across the Arabian Peninsula. And any architect could tell you, like, these are all just crazy dreams. And these crazy dreams were enabled because of hubris, because of all this money and wealth that was flowing to Saudi Arabia. But again, all this was just based on the belief that peace and prosperity could continue forever, when in fact the world was a much more fragile place. Not any of these nations in the GCC are actually real nation states with the real population that would sustain these nation states. Okay, that's the first point. These Arab states are a construct of empire. The second point I will make is this: the American military, for the longest time, didn't actually have to fight a real war. Okay, so the last real war that I fought was probably Vietnam. The Persian Gulf War in 1991 was not a real war; it's a video game where you have these airplanes, high-tech airplanes, which were able to incinerate Saddam Hussein's soldiers. I mean, just look at the visuals from the first Persian Gulf War. It was not a real war. It was just a video game, essentially. 2003, when the Americans invaded Iraq, what people don't remember is Saddam Hussein did not have any air defense. Not one, okay? Why didn't Saddam Hussein have any air defense? Because first of all, he had suffered over 10 years American sanctions, so his nation was too poor to have air defense. The second point is that he knew that he couldn't defend against an American invasion. So what was the point anyway in preparing? Like, the Americans came, you're dead anyway. So he just gambled and felt that the Americans would not be stupid enough to invade Iraq, because if you invaded Iraq, you would empower Iran. You would make Iran the hegemon or the main power in the Middle East. And why would the Americans want to do that?
And there's been things that they would do that will come back and work against them. There's a lot of things that they did, decades ago that have now, all right, that are now coming back, to bite them, man. All right, because the whole thing, this is why Iraq, because America, they had propped Iraq up at one point because they needed Iraq to be hostile against Iran, because they wanted Iraq, because even that Iran-Iraqi war, okay, like I say, there was financed, okay, by America, okay. They financed and weaponized Iraq against Iran because they wanted to weaken Iran. See, Iran never bowed down to the West. Okay, you had that moment when you had the Shah, all right, which was a Western puppet leader in Iran, and that's when they overthrew that nigga. Okay, and that's when you had the Ayatollah come in, which we went over this. All right, the supreme leader that they just killed. Okay, so the Ayatollah came in, and Iran became an Islamic Republic. Okay, it has its own constitution, and it didn't deal with the West. Okay, and then after the West, sent after they after America sicked, all right, Iraq on Iran, because America was pouting because Iran threw out their dictator, their puppet dictator, that they put over Iran. Iran got that nigga out of there, and then Iran, they took over the embassy. Okay, there was some Marines got killed in the mix. All right, Americans was being held hostage. Okay, And from that time on, all right, America has been on a mission, all right, to topple Iran. Okay, but Iran plays a role in prophecy. So everything that they've done over these last, 40 plus years to destroy Iran has only strengthened Iran. Okay, because Iran got what? A role to play in prophecy, man. Okay, so for them to invade Iraq, it didn't make sense because Iraq was a buffer that was keeping, because a strong Iraq kept Iran at bay because they always had to worry about a threat from Iraq, which was on their border. Okay, but when America came and invaded Iraq 2003 and dismantled Iraq, okay, well, they just gave Iran the freeway, okay, to where they can just focus on fighting America. Since America fighting Iraq, which Iran, well, I said, we just focus on fighting y'all because we know y'all coming eventually, okay? So that's how that played out. But let's let this play some more.
Okay, so clearly Saddam Hussein was wrong. So 2003, the Iraq War was not a real war as well. So for the longest time, the Americans have not fought a real war. Now they're fighting a real war. And what we're seeing is the American military is not as strong as people believe. And the reason why is the military-industrial complex is first and foremost corrupt. It's not meant to fight wars. It's meant to steal as much money from taxpayers using the justification of wars, right? So during the Cold War, it was not possible for the Soviet Union and for America to actually go head-to-head. So what they did was they invested in very expensive weapon systems that made them look good, which cost a lot of money, which was impressive on paper, but which really didn't do anything, okay? So
America got a lot of this high-tech weaponry, okay, that look good on paper, but it's never been tested in battle. Now it's being all this high-tech weaponry and all this speculation about American military might is now being tested. And it's not what people thought it was, man. It is nowhere near what people thought it was, man. Okay, it's mighty, but it has a lot of flaws, and that technology, which a lot of is AI, is trash. Okay, and then going back into the military industrial complex, a lot of their weaponry is overpriced because the weapons manufacturing is a monopoly. You only have a few, all right, weapons manufacturing, okay, companies that supply weapons to the American military. Okay, and so they're able to overprice and price gouge the weaponry because it's needed during war. So even see this nigga wickedness, all this nigga wickedness is coming back to bite him, man. All right, this nigga kept these wars going against these smaller, weaker countries to enrich themselves, man. And you look at it, because you look at damn, they got $1 trillion, $800 billion, $700 billion, $1 trillion military budget a year, but really that goes into a lot of this shit be overpriced, man, and a lot of it trash. Okay, a lot of it's billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars of military hardware. Okay, that's irrelevant in this war. Okay, because you can't. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick. I'll just look something up on chat. Okay, because American, when you go into these weapons contractors, all right, they use war as a racket. Okay, these certain politicians, because when they, because you can stop being a congressman, okay, but then you go to be an executive, okay, at Lockheed Martin, okay, because when you was a congressman, you always voted for war. You always pushed for war, okay, which enrich these contractors. Okay, so a lot of times, America, they will push for war just to enrich these contractors. Okay, and then these contractors will promise these politicians, okay, these well-paying, all right, these extravagant, okay, multi-million-dollar a year, tens of $1,000,000 a year paying jobs, okay, when they will leave, okay, the White House, man. Okay, and then you got people from, you know, these different weapon manufacturers. They'll leave the weapons manufacturer and go, all right, be a congressman or a senator and push for war. Okay, and because they got stocks, and then too, these Edomites, they got stock in these weapons manufacturers, so their stocks go up when America's at war. Okay, so war for Esau, it's not been about military objectives or going to war to defend America, okay, or going to stop, you know, terrorism or all this bullshit that they've been telling us for years. No, it's just been a racket. Okay, but now that you got to fight for real, now you got all this overpriced bullshit that don't work. Okay, so when you go, all right, it says I said could weapon manufacturers with government contracts turn war into a racket? It says yes, in theory, and historically it has been argued that weapons manufacturers with government contracts can contribute to war becoming a racket. But the reality is more complex. Let's break it down. It says what war as a racket means. The phrase comes from Smedley Butley, a highly decorated U.S. Marine, all right, who wrote the 1935 book War is a Racket. You know, he also got that documentary, you know, All Wars Are Bank of Wars. I don't know if brothers have seen it yet. Let me see if I can pull this documentary up and put the link in, because I've been wanting to do a video on. It's not super long, about 45 minutes. Okay, but it's worth to watch. Okay, and I said I was just gonna do just a marathon on it, just really go into it, but we'll see. This might be the time, to do it. But let me see. I think this is it right here. Yeah, that's it. I need to watch that anyway. Freshen up on that. Well, it's about 44 minutes worth to watch. But he goes all the way back from, the colonies, from the British colonies that was established in America, the original 13 colonies. He goes from there all the way into the war in Iraq in 2001. So let's see. Let's put this up here. So that's the video, All Wars Are Bank of Wars. Okay. And like I said, it's worth to watch. But we might tap into it. So it says his argument was, all right, he says his argument was that war often generate huge profits for corporations, especially arms manufacturers. The cost, all right, the death, the taxes, the destruction are borne by soldiers and civilians. The cost, okay, the cost, the death, the taxes, the destruction are borne by civilians. Okay, let me look this up real quick, man. Let me see, man. Because all this war money is paid by civilians. That big military budget, that's civilian money. So you're going $1 trillion a year going to war. That's paid by taxpayers. Let's see. So let's go back into the chat. I just want to look in there. But going back into it, said the cost, the death, the tax, the destruction are borne by soldiers and civilians. Political and business interests may benefit financially from continued conflict. Political and business interests may benefit financially from continued conflict. Okay, so to these devils, war has just been a racket, all right, an excuse to funnel taxpayer money at the expense of the death and destruction of soldiers and civilians, okay, into the pockets, okay, of these weapons manufacturers, man, okay, and their stockholders, man. All right, so Butler claimed that industry supplying weapons, ships, fuel, and equipment holds strong incentives. All right, has strong incentives for war. Okay, it said the military-industrial complex. A similar concern was famously raised by Dwight D. Eisenhower in his 1961 farewell address. He warned about the growing influence of defense contractors, the military establishment, political decision makers, man. All right, because from the 60s on up, America's been at war, and they always go to war with these weaker nations, okay, that really pose no threat to America, all right, and really can't do nothing with the American military army, you know, so they just gave America more clout, okay, they can project themselves as the heroes of the earth, okay, and you just got all this overpriced, okay, weaponry, okay, that's being sold by these few defense contractors, man, okay. It says the concern is that defense companies profit from military spending. The lobby, it said they lobby governments for contracts and policies. This could potentially encourage higher military spending or prolonged conflicts. Large defense contractors such as Lockheed Martin, Raytheon Technologies, Northrop, all right, Grumman, Boeing Defense and Space Security. Okay, so you have these few companies, and they're able to charge whatever they want. You know, I did one video. I have to go into it again. I did a video on them before, but hey, these things are more relevant now. You know, dealing with how these contractors and how these politicians, you know, work together. All right, to just profit off of war. Okay, and how these defense contractors. Okay, there's certain things, if I can remember from that documentary, it was saying how you had different boats, you know, there was $6 at one time for certain boats, okay, for certain weapons, you know, certain boats and $6, $7. All right. But then like 2 years later, that same boat is now $1,400 just for a boat. Okay. And then the way they do the contracts, okay, they write the contracts out to where America pays, the American taxpayer pays for everything. The company Lockheed Martin don't pay for anything, right? Raytheon Technology, they don't pay for any of the costs of making the weapons. Okay, all this taxpayer money. Okay, might have to find that video. We might just have to lightly touch over it again. I have to see if I can find it. But it says makes billions from government contract for things like fighter jets, missiles, surveillance systems, and military logistics, man. And now that all this high dollar shit being put to the test, man, and it's trash. Okay, in 1 week, that shit trash. All them trillions of dollars put into this weaponry in 1 week. You come to find out that that's trash, man. Okay, and what a way to find out in the middle of a war, and in the middle of World War III. Okay, so let's go back. So this whole military, America really has been a paper tiger, man. You know, it really just been a big paper tiger. Okay, roaring throughout the earth, man. Okay, so let's go back here.
So really, it was about flexing rather than about really fighting a conventional war, and that's what we're seeing today in the Middle East, where America has all these really impressive air defense systems, right? The THAAD system, which costs billions of dollars. You have the Patriot system. You have the Iron Dome. I mean, it's all very impressive. But look how ineffective it is against the Iranian assault. And the Iranians have told us they're actually not have yet to release their most advanced weaponry. This week has just been, the old stockpile of drones, of redundant missiles to soften the weapon systems of the air defense systems of the Israelis and Americans, and the GCC. And already Israel and the GCC are suffering massive casualties and massive damage. So what this war has shown us is that the world really is a mirage. It's a hallucination. What you believe to be true is not actually true.
I think many of us are somehow confused with the concept of Israel, because after all, Donald Trump wanted to help Israel, but it seems from what we've seen so far, you see no footages coming out of Israel. And then what is happening in Israel that nobody knows, because it seems that a huge devastation is happening and nobody knows what's going on. But from Iran, we know, as you mentioned, the footages are coming out. We know where they're hitting and what is the devastation that is happening in Tehran, for example.
Right. So there's a very good reason why there's no footage coming out of Israel. The reason why is Israel was completely humiliated in a 12-day war. Remember, Israel really thought that it would take them like a few days to destroy Iran because their entire strategy was decapitation, right? So they went in to kill the top leadership of the Iranians. And for the first few days, it was really impressive. They were killing these scientists, these generals, these officials, these clerics in their homes. And so that showed you the extent of the Mossad network in Iran. That showed you the extent of the advancement of Israeli weaponry. And it also showed you that Israel had complete dominance over the skies. And this happened because of the fall of Syria, right? So after Syria fell to ISIS, this created this air corridor where now the Israelis can just fly uncontested directly to Iran. And before Syria was the early air defense warning system for the Iranians. That's why they had invested so much in protecting the Assad regime.
So what you had in Syria when al-Bashar was president, Iran, had early detection, radars in Syria, but when Bashar regime fell, and those Israelis were able to go through and destroy all those missile defenses in Syria, all those radars, from Iran, well, it opened Iran up a little bit, and those small hats became emboldened, but it was all a trap, so they was able to now fly freely through Syria, because they can launch, missiles from jets. They can throw missiles from jets, from Iraq, in Syria. They don't have to go all the way to Iran, So when they did that, this opened up, Iran, and this emboldened the small hats to become more aggressive. And that's where you get the start of the 12-day war. So let's play this.
So in the first few days, it seemed as though Israel was on the brink of destroying Iran once and for all. But the Iranians proved much more resilient than anyone could imagine. And the Iranians started to fire back at the Israelis. And the Israelis were actually suffering a lot of damage, especially in Tel Aviv. And the images coming out of Israel were shocking and actually humiliating. And so the Israelis basically begged the Americans to come in and save them from losing to Iran. And that's why Trump and the Iranians sort of orchestrated or coordinated or choreographed this conflict, right? Where one or two B-2 bombers went in and blew up an empty mountain. And then the Iranians struck back and attacked an empty U.S. base in Qatar. And that was it, And that was the end of the 12-day war. And then if you remember, Netanyahu went to talk to Putin, and asked Putin to do him a favor and talk to Iranians and said, listen, Trump says that we've taken out your nuclear weapons program, your uranium enrichment program, and that's good enough for us. So I promise you, Iran, that we, the Israelis, will not provoke another conflict. There will be peace between us. And Putin delivered that message. That was widely reported at that time. And we really thought that at the end of the 12th Day War, we would have peace in the Middle East because the Iranians have demonstrated to everyone that they will fight back and they can fight back. And Israel doesn't have the capacity to actually destroy the regime, the government in Iran. Unfortunately, that's clearly not what they believe. And so what I think they understood is, you know what, we still want to destroy the government in Iran because that's part of the Greater Israel Project. But in the future, we'll just censor media. We'll just disguise the fact that we're getting destroyed by the Iranians. And that's what's led to this blockade of information from Israel. You're absolutely right in that there's a lot of destruction. There should be a lot of destruction in Tel Aviv and other places because we sort of like see the missile barrages of the Iranians, and they're quite impressive. But it's really think that, you know, like if we just hide the fact that we're getting destroyed, then people will think that we're still invincible. Okay, so that's a response to the loss of the 12th Day War. There's really is like we just won't admit where we're being defeated. But I mean, right now Israel does not have the capacity to continue this war for much longer. It needs America to send in ground troops, and that's the situation we find ourselves in.
From oil rigs to war zones.
So the reason why, all right, America is sending ground troops is because the small hats can't hold up for too long. Okay, so your sons and daughters, you Americans, your sons and daughters are going, all right, to Iran on behalf of the small hats, because the small hats can't hold up. Well, your sons and daughters, okay, are going to get deployed, okay, because when they start sending those troops in attempt to force interest into Iran, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a slaughter. Okay, and this is a great way for the elites to just throw America to. This is a great way for the elites to depopulate. All right, because see, the elites, they're going to make the most out of this disaster. It backfired on them, and they're going to make the most of it. Okay, and they're going to you best believe they're going to get rid of a lot of the youth. Okay, in this war, they're going to get a lot of the middle age and the youth. Okay. They're gonna deploy them over there to, all right, their meat grinder, man. Okay, which is gonna be Iran. But see, the reason why you Americans gonna have to get your ass up off the couch and go to Iran is because the small hats can't hold up in this back and forth with Iran. Okay, they too little. Okay, they got no defense. You see, they're being overwhelmed. You know, and this is just week one. All right, so it's going to be interesting to see the developments with the deployment of the 82nd Airborne, this American military rapid response, and they're going to be out of there quick. You know, their first little deployment, they're going to be out of there quick. Okay, as you could prepare for these devils to send deployment after deployment. That's what they did in Vietnam. They just sent deployment after deployment. Okay. So prepare for just, you know, constant deployments, and it gets to the point because American military can't withstand. Okay, they can only field 500,000, and then it's gonna be straight civilians out there. After about 500,000 American troops, okay, slaughtered over there in their region, then it's going to be civilians after that, man. Okay, and the weaponry that these nations got, man, it's not gonna take long to get rid of 500,000. Okay, this war gonna start to move quickly, man. It's moving quickly. You see, so let's I got one more video I want to go into. You know, because and Trump will get up there and tell you y'all winning. He'll get up there right now today and make a speech about how y'all winning, man. He'll tell you that Iran is ready to surrender, man. There's people walking around America talking about Iran is ready to surrender, man. Okay, listening to that Trump and Hex self, man. Them guys are clowns, man. Okay, if you ain't no general, if you ain't no war analyst, man, You ain't qualified, man. Trump is not qualified to talk on these things, man. He's a clown. Like I say, the real generals are outside now. It's about war strategy. This is a real war. Okay? Trump is a character, man. And he has no expertise in what's going on. He can't tell you anything informative about what's happening, man. Okay? It's a complete clown show. It's a complete waste of time to listen to Trump. Okay, because you'll be walking around the earth in the alternate reality, man. You know? So let's go here. All right, I want to play a little bit of this. Now, I looked it up because I think with this channel here, with this guy, you know, of course it's AI, but what he does, it's like this AI is pulling a lot of information from everybody and coming up with news reports, and a lot of it be on point, you know. And before I go into it, I fact check, you know, particular things, you know, to what to know to spit out. Okay. But a lot of it be on point. You know, he pull a lot of facts from everywhere and come up with, you know, this and it generates a report. Okay. But he goes in when it comes to what Trump is saying and what actually is happening, man. Okay. Now he made the statement that Israel just told millions of citizens we can't protect you anymore. Now I didn't find that anywhere, you know. So I don't know how true that is. Okay, but we can see it that they can't. All right, because if Iran was just attacked, Iran could kill hundreds of thousands of civilians in a day if they wanted to. Okay, but they're attacking military targets, man. Okay, military assets, intelligence assets. Okay, but if they wanted to, Tel Aviv is at the mercy of Iran. The whole state of Israel is at the mercy of Iran. Every civilian. If Iran was like the West, okay, it'd be hundreds of thousands. It's easy. Like that's another thing that's shocking. All that the West do, you know, they kill all these civilians. So you hear all these civilians being killed, and you think these niggas win the war. They just killing a lot of civilians. The easiest thing to do in war is just bomb and kill civilians. You just push the button, and bombs go kill civilians. But when you're talking about dismantling military infrastructure and capability, that's a whole nother thing. Okay, so let's play this.
Now giving approximately 60 to 90 seconds of notice. In some cases, less. And those 90 seconds aren't enough time to do anything meaningful except realize something is about to hit. That's not a defense system. That's a countdown clock.
And he's talking about because Iran had destroyed those radars, those early warning radars. So these small hats, mainly Tel Aviv, they don't even get the warning that they used to get. You know, there will be hours out, you know. So now it's just minutes because it don't take nothing, but it depends on, you know, they got some low speed because they got low hypersonic missiles, medium hypersonic missiles, and, you know, the top, you know, the super fast hypersonics, you know. But you're talking about missiles that can get to Israel, you know, within 20 to 15 minutes. And then the higher you go in hypersonic, you're talking about single digit, 7 to 8 minutes. Okay.
But the Israel announcement, as shocking as it is, and is not even the biggest development breaking right now. Because something happened today that crossed a line this conflict has been approaching but hadn't yet reached. Bahrain directly attacked Iran, not America attacking from Bahraini soil, which has been happening for weeks. Not Israeli jets refueled by American tankers taking off from Gulf airspace. Bahrain, directly. Missiles and drones launched from Bahraini territory, flying into Iranian airspace, hitting Iranian targets. A Gulf Arab state just declared open war on Iran. Think about the magnitude of that for 1 second. Bahrain is a tiny island nation of under 2 million people. It hosts the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters. It has been a quiet, careful American partner for decades. Never openly combatant, always facilitating, always maintaining the.
And when you have stuff like that, it's those small hats have been because they've re-engineered Iranian drones, so they can do false flags and say, either Iran did it. Okay, then also, they'll launch attacks from, okay, these Gulf Arab states, to try to get these Gulf Arab states into direct conflict with Iran, so that's been happening too. All right, but we know what the prophecies say, man. Okay, and Bahrain is a no factor. All right.
Thin layer of deniability that kept it technically out of the direct conflict. That layer just evaporated. Bahrain crossed the line that every Gulf state has been desperately trying not to cross. And Iran's response was immediate, overwhelming, and precise. Iran turned around and hit Bahrain with strikes that have left the country reeling. Simultaneously, in a single operational night, Iran hit Iraq, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the UAE. 5 countries, one night. Coordinated strikes across the entire theater at the same moment Bahrain's attack was being processed and answered. This isn't a country fighting defensively. This is a country that has been preparing for exactly this moment. The moment its enemies finally ran out of patience and went overt, and had the target packages ready, the weapons loaded, and the command structure in place to respond to everything simultaneously. Qatar is now under full emergency lockdown. Government alerts are hitting every mobile phone in the country. Stay indoors, move away from windows, shelter in place. The city that hosted the World Cup in front of the world 2 years ago. The gleaming towers, the luxury hotels, the financial hub of the Gulf, an emergency lockdown, missiles in the sky. Every resident receiving government texts telling them to get away from their windows. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Manama, Riyadh. Cities that represented the argument that the Middle East could build something magnificent, ordered, prosperous, safe, are simultaneously under attack on the same night. And into this burning, simultaneous multi-country crisis, Trump is sending a third aircraft carrier, a third one, 10 to 15,000 American soldiers, sailors, and pilots, moving toward a theater where the first carrier already retreated, where Iran has hypersonic missiles that no deployed American system can intercept, where the Strait of Hormuz is effectively an Iranian firing range, and where Iran has explicitly stated anything that enters these waters will be sunk. Trump is calling this leverage. Iran is calling it a target. History will decide which one is right. But the physics already have an opinion. The war just went from regional conflict to something that no longer has a clean category, and it's only getting bigger from here. Trump keeps saying Iran is about to surrender. He has said it 7 times in the last week. They're breaking. They're ready to deal. Iran will surrender. Each statement issued with the confident certainty of a man reading from a script his advisors handed him. Each statement followed, within hours, by Iran launching another wave of strikes larger than the one before. The gap between what Trump is saying and what Iran is doing has become so wide, so consistently documented, and so impossible to bridge that it's stopped being a credibility problem and started being a strategic warning sign. When a leader repeatedly claims the enemy is surrendering while the enemy is visibly escalating, one of 2 things is happening. Either the leader genuinely doesn't know what's happening, in which case the intelligence apparatus has failed catastrophically, or the leader knows and is lying, in which case the American public is being managed rather than informed about a war being fought with their money and their soldiers' lives. Neither option is acceptable. Both are dangerous. Here's what Iran's actual behavior says about the surrender timeline. Iran just announced it will select a new supreme leader within 24 hours. This is the most significant internal signal Iran has sent since the conflict began, and it points in the exact opposite direction of surrender. Selecting a new supreme leader in the middle of active combat operations is an act of institutional continuity under pressure. It says, we are not collapsing, we are governing. We are building the command structure that will continue this fight beyond any single leader. If Iran were breaking, if the military pressure were actually achieving the internal collapse American strategy requires, the last thing Iran's establishment would be doing is conducting a formal leadership succession process. Collapsing systems don't elect leaders. Functioning systems do. The selection of the new supreme leader also resolves the command coordination problem that has plagued the conflict's diplomatic dimensions. The 31 decentralized command centers that have been operating with standing orders, but without central authority, once a new supreme leader is installed and recognized, will again have a single chain of command, which means 2 things simultaneously. Iran becomes capable of diplomatic commitments it couldn't honor while decentralized, and Iran's military operations become more coordinated, more strategic, and potentially more devastating than the autonomous phase has been. The diplomatic window and the military escalation window are opening at exactly the same moment. Now let's talk about Britain, because London just made a decision that is being buried under the volume of daily military developments, but deserves serious attention. Britain is deploying bombers and an aircraft carrier toward the Middle East theater, a country with no heating gas for its population this winter, a country whose economy has been struggling with post-Brexit structural problems and post-COVID debt burdens, a country whose citizens are watching energy bills consume household budgets in ways that are generating genuine domestic political pressure. That country is deploying an aircraft carrier toward a conflict where Iran has already demonstrated the ability to hit carriers.
Now, it's not official, they're British, all right, they're Britain. The UK is sending an aircraft carrier, Now they're saying that they've made preparations. I think their aircraft carrier is called the Prince Charles aircraft carrier. Okay, so they have been put on notice, but there's no official announcement that they're sending an aircraft carrier. They said it and they bagged up. French said they were sending it and they bagged off of it. So with Europe, they're real iffy in the whole situation. And then it is confirmed that the third aircraft carrier, which he spoke about earlier, which is because you have right now in the region, all right, the Gerald Ford, okay, and you have the Abraham Lincoln, all right, it's already in the region, the aircraft carrier along with the strike groups, okay. Now there's a third aircraft carrier, all right, USS George H.W. Bush, all right, is being sent to the Middle East, okay, and it's going to join the Abraham Lincoln and U.S. Gerald Ford, okay. So that is true that America is sending a third aircraft carrier, man, all right, because they over there getting their work, and there's just more there's just more ships that's going to sink, so the Lord is drawing America and its troops to their region, man, just as the scripture said they would. The troops of the earth are being drawn to their region, man. Okay, this is the war where everybody gets involved. Okay, every capable military, all right, that's capable of participating in this third world war is going to be drawn to this region, man. Okay, so let this play some more.
Destroy billion-dollar defense systems, and strike Gulf infrastructure with hypersonic precision weapons. Iran's response to British deployment was not diplomatic concern. It was a military statement. Anyone who enters this conflict will be treated as a combatant and targeted accordingly. Britain is sailing an aircraft carrier toward a country that just told Israel's defense system it can no longer function. Toward a theater where America's Patriot systems are half destroyed. Toward an adversary that has Fateh hypersonic missiles with 100% bypass capability against every system Britain has deployed in its carrier group. The strategic logic of this deployment, under these conditions, is genuinely difficult to identify. What is identifiable is the political logic. America is asking its allies to demonstrate commitment. Britain, needing American trade relationships in a post-Brexit world, is complying. And the soldiers and sailors on that carrier are the price of that political compliance. Meanwhile, the Strait of Hormuz has gone from a busy global shipping lane to a near-empty water corridor. The before and after satellite imagery tells the story in a single image. Weeks ago, dense ship traffic in both directions, the commercial lifeblood of the global economy flowing normally. Today, near-empty water. The occasional vessel, no tankers, no cargo ships. Because Iran has stated, unambiguously, that anything entering Gulf waters is a potential target. And every shipping company, every captain, every insurance underwriter has done the math and reached the same conclusion. The economic consequences of an empty Strait of Hormuz are not theoretical anymore. They're in today's oil price. They're in today's shipping costs. They'll be in next month's grocery bills. And they compound every week the strait stays closed. Japan, South Korea, Australia, countries with no direct stake in the political conflict, are watching their energy economics deteriorate in real time because of decisions made in Washington and Tel Aviv that they had no voice in. The world didn't vote for this war. The world is paying for it anyway. Let's be honest about what America's actual objective in this conflict is, because stopping Iran's nuclear program stopped being the credible explanation several escalations ago. Iran's nuclear facilities haven't been the primary targets. The strikes have been hitting command infrastructure, military leadership, and economic capacity. Trump himself stated openly, in the same breath he was demanding Nobel Peace Prize consideration, that he intends to install American-aligned leadership in Tehran and take control of Iranian oil and gas resources. That's not counterproliferation. That's not regional security. That's colonial resource acquisition with a military enforcement mechanism. And it's being pursued against a country of 90 million people with 31 active military command structures, hypersonic missile capability, and 45 years of preparation for exactly this scenario. The comparison to Venezuela isn't accidental. Trump made it deliberately. It's the model. Remove the government, install a compliant replacement, secure access to the resources. Venezuela has been in various stages of that process for years. The difference is Venezuela doesn't have Fateh missiles. Iran does. So here's the question that every government, every investor, every ordinary citizen downstream of this conflict needs to ask clearly. What does victory look like in this scenario? And what is the realistic path to achieving it? Regime change through military pressure?
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built.
Iran's population, under missile attack, under sanctions, under the most sustained external pressure of any country in the modern era, is not rising up against its government. It's working. The markets in Tehran are open. People are going about their days. The internal social collapse that American strategy required is not happening. It was never going to happen. Because Iranians have spent 45 years being told American power was coming for them, and they prepared accordingly, not with mass capitulation, but with mass resilience. Degrading military capability to the point of impotence? Iran just launched hypersonic missiles after destroying half of America's regional Patriot systems. The trajectory of military capability in this conflict is not moving in America's favor. Iran's old weapons are exhausted. Its advanced weapons are now in play. Its new supreme leader will restore centralized command to 31 active military structures. The military situation for America is not improving. It is deteriorating on a timeline that America's industrial base cannot keep pace with. Economic strangulation? Iran has been sanctioned for 40 years. The Iranian economy functions under conditions that would collapse most nations. And right now, Iran is causing more economic damage to the global system through oil disruption, shipping closure, and Gulf investment withdrawal than 40 years of American sanctions caused to Iran. There is no military path to victory. There is no economic path to victory. And the diplomatic path, the one that was always available, the one Iran has offered publicly and repeatedly, requires acknowledging something that this administration has made politically impossible to acknowledge. American military presence in the Middle East is the problem, not the solution. That sentence is going to determine how history judges this chapter. Because every analyst who has looked at this conflict honestly, every intelligence professional who has briefed without political pressure, every military strategist who has gamed out the scenarios without needing a specific outcome, they all arrive at the same place. The strikes don't stop while American bases are operational on Gulf soil. Iran's position on this has been consistent, public, and strategically coherent from the first day. Remove the bases, end the strikes, keep the bases, continue the war. It's not complicated. It's a clear condition with a clear consequence. The Gulf states know it. They've been privately communicating it to Washington for weeks. The signals are everywhere. Investment withdrawal reviews, emergency diplomatic contacts, back-channel conversations about timelines for American base drawdown. The Gulf states are not going to publicly ask America to leave, while American forces are still the only thing standing between them and a hot war they can't fight themselves. But they are building the conditions for that ask as fast as they safely can. And when Saudi Arabia or Qatar or the UAE finally says out loud what everyone in the region is saying privately, the political cover for American presence collapses, because you cannot maintain 40 years of "we're here to protect you" when the countries you're supposedly protecting are telling you your presence is what's getting them bombed. 3 American aircraft carriers are now in or moving toward the Gulf. 15,000 American soldiers on those ships alone, plus the tens of thousands at the bases across the region. Britain is deploying. Europe is deploying. More targets, bigger stakes, higher consequence if it goes wrong. Qatar is in emergency lockdown tonight. Israel can't warn its own citizens about incoming missiles. Bahrain has gone from quietly hosting American forces to openly attacking Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is empty. The hypersonic phase is active. The new supreme leader will be named within 24 hours. And Trump is on social media calling it a surrender. The missiles disagree. History is being made in real time. In the gap between what powerful people are saying and what the weapons are actually doing, that gap has never been wider. The consequences of it have never been higher. Pay attention. Because what gets decided in the next 2 weeks doesn't just determine what the Middle East looks like in 2025. It determines what the world looks like for the next 50 years.
Yeah, man. So, what's being told in the Western media and what's really happening, all right, is 2 different extremes, man. Okay? 2 different extremes, man, to what people are being told and what's actually happening. It's 2 completely different extremes. Okay, so let's go here. Yeah, because Esau was done. So let's go here. I want to get this. All right. This is Daniel. Let's get this in Daniel, the 5th chapter. Okay. Let's jump to the point. This is Daniel 5. All right. And this is Daniel 5 and 23. Now this is talking to Belshazzar. This is Daniel getting ready to interpret the writing on the wall, dealing with Belshazzar. Okay. And when you go into it, Daniel 5 and 23, it says, "For you have proudly defied the Lord of heaven, all right, and have had these cups from his temple brought before you." Okay, so Belshazzar, he was in his pride, okay, which is what the last king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, before it fell. Okay, so you see Trump, he's in the role of Belshazzar, man. Okay, he could be very well the last, all right, president, that cruel lord over Babylon. He could very well be. It's hard to see him finishing out his term these next 3 years. Okay. Salaki, and America still standing. Okay, it's hard to see it, but it's all the will of the Lord. He said, "You and your nobles and your wives and concubines have been drinking wine from them while praising gods of silver, gold, bronze, iron, wood, and stone, gods that neither see nor hear, nor know anything at all." And this is the devil praising this AI. Okay, because if you unplug AI, okay, it's over with. It's just like a steel statue. If you unplug the data centers, the AI is no more than a steel statue of these ancient idols, man, made from silver, gold, the materials that the Lord created, man. Okay. So this devil, he's been boasting, all right, his technology, his idol, his modern idol. Okay. It said, "Guys that neither hear nor see nor know anything at all, but you have not honored the power, okay, who gives you breath of life and controls your destiny." You see? So Esau had all these plans and schemes and agendas in mind, but he never gave reverence to the Most High that controls the destiny of men. Because Esau's mind, he's in control of his own destiny, man. Okay? And that's why the Lord is embarrassing this nigga on the global stage. Okay? Especially as people see that military ain't what people thought it was, man. Because it's a lot of people just stood down based on America's reputation, just based on America's military might on paper. Okay, and how they've been bullying these smaller nations, man. Okay, but now that they're in the real war and they see that America really ain't cut like that, now you finna see these nations emboldened, man. Okay, and now Esau, he's not looking like he's in full control of his destiny like he, once was, man. Okay, he once thought himself to be. It says, "So the Most High has sent this hand to write this message. This is the message that was written. Many, many to call and parson." It said, this is what the words mean. Many means numbered. The Most High has numbered the days of your reign and has brought it to an end. Okay, so this devil, he's at the very end. His days are numbered. Like this man's kingdom is down to days. Okay, well, this 500 days, 1,000 days, 1,500 days, we don't know, but it's down to days. Okay, you can count the days with this guy. Okay, verse 27 said, "Tekel" means weighed. You have been weighed on the balances and have not, all right, and have not measured up. Parson means divided. Your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Okay, which today is modern day Iran and Russia. Okay, and it's going to be a short-lived, victory for them because Yahweh Shai is going to enter the mix. Okay, and they're all right, are going to be uprooted, man. Okay, but the wickedness going into Tekel means weighed. All right, when you weigh the wickedness of Esau, Edom, okay, well, there's a lot of judgment that's due to this man. All right, and that's why this war gonna be so destructive and so swift. You know, it's gonna even out. It's gonna begin to even out their balance. Okay, because this is what this is what Esau's lacking at, is being held accountable for his wickedness, man. All right, and Yahweh Shai, he's the one coming to do that, man. Okay, so yeah, man, there's a lot going on. Oh, there's a few more things I want to watch. All right, and Lord willing, you know, we'll be back a little later on this afternoon. You know, so with that, you know, Lord will, all right, you brothers, all right, and you sisters, edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutation to the hopeful, like Shalom.